gives me great pleasure to welcome Katherine from the YMCA Greater Toronto, who's going to provide us with some great insights on what the Y is doing with regards to cultural competency and philanthropy. So without further ado, take it away, Katherine. Thank you.
What I was going to talk about today was kind of some of the things that we're doing at the Y. And I know you met some of my colleagues, Mike and Marcy, who are part of our diversity and social inclusion team. And, you know, what we really have a great chance to do at the Y is because we have a diversity and social inclusion team, it's really been a part of our big focus on how do we engage it in all of our different interactions. So it could be from, you know, coming into the door and working with our membership services desk, or coming into our health and fitness centers or employment centers, or even dealing with the smiling, happy folks from the fundraising team. So we thought we'd talk about kind of some of the things today, what we're doing in our fundraising. So what we thought we would do from a learning objective is kind of look at how we're exploring the process of conducting a cultural competency self-assessment. Whew, that's a mouthful, holy smokes. And then what we'll do is we'll examine what are the benefits of adopting a cultural competency approach to philanthropy, and then look at some best practices as my team are kind of exploring and seeing what's best for different groups that we're chatting with. And then maybe what we can do is, I always find this time of day when I'm in these sessions, you can kind of get a little bit sleepy, you've had a little bit of dessert and that, so I'd love to have some interaction from you guys to talk about what are some steps, and maybe taking 2 steps to take back to your organization so that you can have your organization grow in cultural competency, and then look at a brief action plan that maybe a couple things that you've gleaned today from our speakers, and maybe some other things that you'll take away at the sessions this afternoon about what you want to implement in your organization. So I don't know if many of you have been to YMCA lately, but I thought I'd give you a snapshot of who are we. So our staff and volunteers, we have about 4,000 staff. Of our staff, about 81% of them are female, 18% are male, and about 41% of them are under the 28 years of age. So one of the things is that we're really engaged in is youth employment. So in a lot of cases, this is where youth have their first jobs. And 44% of our staff are a member of a visible minority group. So really quite fascinating of what our staff and volunteer makeup is. From the volunteer side, we have about 7,200 volunteers, and again, it's 61% female, 37% male. The average age is about 36, and as you can see, from a wide range of different communities. So a lot of you might have heard, well, what is cultural competency? And so essentially it's an organizational context encompassing personal and collective abilities to function effectively in cross-cultural situations. So it's referring to the ability of the organization to function and perform. So what we want to do is examine our own organizational culture, so as is expressed in policies, values, and structures, and put in practices that help us work with each of these communities appropriately. So one of the things that we engage in is we look at a cultural competency self-assessment. So kind of one of those tools where what you do is you look at different ways and how you can get your organization up to speed in cultural competency, or at least put the foundation for it. So some of this can include developing and preparing a framework and a toolkit. What you will want to do is have leadership support. So we're very lucky at the Y in that Medhat Mahdi is a real champion in our organization of approving and endorsing and being a champion for diversity and social inclusion being a part of all of our daily life here at the Y. The other thing is we've also have it as part of all of our staff's daily work and their performance measurements as having a diversity and social inclusion portion of their job description. So we want to ensure that we're allowing them enough time. So for example, my staff coming to a lot of these workshops, engaging in different methods of engaging with different communities, or learning more about how to connect and maybe write or develop marketing collateral in the specific way that helps them develop and speak to audiences appropriately. It's a very important effort that we're putting a lot more of our resources to, and then in some cases refining what we're doing for them. The other thing is we look at an individual assessment tool and organization tool. So we customize it according to how each department and organization is using it. So for example, in the philanthropy, we're going to look at what are different ways that we're interacting with different communities and how can we better speak to that particular audience. And then we conduct an assessment. So this is one of the conceptual frameworks of a cultural competency organization. Don't want to say that 3 times fast. So what you have here is kind of all the different areas. Now this would be for fairly substantial. I realize that there's organizations of various sizes here, and this might not be applicable for you, but I think what you can take from it is there's different things in which you can overlay cultural competencies. So whether it's in your governance and policy development, whether it's in how you manage and administer your own personnel, or in our case, what we're looking at, how do you deal with your donors, how do you speak with your donors, and how do you thank and appreciate your donors. So it's all of those different things, but everything impacts them. It could be how are you managing your database? So if you're using Razor's Edge or another similar program, how does your database, how is it managed? How is the data appropriately tracking what folks' interests are and speaking to that portion of it? What the cultural competency approach does is it helps us recognize and celebrate philanthropic diverse cultural, racial, or ethnic groups' impulse and tradition. So we want to ensure that we're respecting that. And we increase knowledge and understanding of philanthropic practices and volunteering of all of these diverse groups. There may be things that are important for one group that may not be as important for another group. So we want to be specific to those. We also want to build the capacity to respond and change the way we attract diverse cultural, racial, or ethnic groups in a culture of giving and volunteering. So essentially, and this was brought up earlier, we want to make sure that we're speaking to our audience appropriately. You're not going to necessarily do a mass, appeal the same way to different groups. There's going to be things that are very important to some that might not be as important to others, or there's going to be, for example, maybe issues that are more directed towards a faith-based approach, or it could be more towards something that's about volunteerism and engaging in that way in addition to their philanthropic. So how are we approaching philanthropy and cultural competency from the YMCA Toronto? Well, I talked about it before in that what we're doing is we're approaching our staff and giving them the tools to have some benchmarks, so kind of different things that they can do to engage in it. So, for example, we really emphasize cultural competency as part of their staff development plan. So I really want staff to go to sessions like this and to engage with folks, network, find out what really inspires them in their giving. What are things that, aren't really working for folks, and have learnings that way. We do monthly team development sessions. So one of our parts of our team that we're looking at when we're looking at our diversity lens is it could be a case study on a most recent giving opportunity that they've had and speaking with a donor. It could have been participating in a local community grassroots event. So one of the neat things about having centers and communities across Toronto is we get to work with so many different communities. So for example, our friends at our Markham YMCA, we hold a Lunar New Year Festival. And so it gives us the opportunity to connect with folks in the community and to learn more about the Lunar Festival, or maybe to use it as an opportunity to thank donors from that community as well. So we really try to take advantage of opportunities that we can connect with folks on a different level that are meaningful to them. And I think that's really important. You want to have meaningful connections with folks, and that's what speaks to them. And it's not kind of the quantity or, you know, the cost of anything of touching base with them, but it's a meaningful, heartfelt approach that means so much to people. So for example, I know it was brought up that, you know, just having a little sign note, that was something that really impacted that person about giving. And it wasn't necessarily looking at, well, this person gave this amount or this person gave that amount. Every amount was integral to that campaign having success. And the one thing with giving is that we all know that if you don't have a strong foundation, then it doesn't matter how big the house is, it's just not going to stand. And every gift is really, really important in building that foundation. So I think that's really important. The other thing that we look at is the one-to-one relationship development. So what we do, and I know this was brought up and it's an excellent point, is engaging volunteer leadership from various communities to sit on our boards and committee. It's pretty, you know, I'm of the mind that, you know, it's pretty challenging to go to a community when you don't reflect diversity yourself. So it's something that we really are trying to evolve and work on even more and more, and to reflect our communities as they are today in the Greater Toronto Area. So I think one of the things that you can use is, and you might have had an approach with, is looking at a skills matrix. So, you know, are you, you know, where do people live? What are skills that they bring to the table? Maybe what relationships do they have? What is their community leadership and activism? And kind of look at who's who on your board, or maybe development committee or fundraising committee. And a lot of times once you put it on paper, I know I've done this exercise a few times now, it's like, holy smokes, I thought I had a more robust development committee or fundraising committee or board of directors, and a lot of times when you actually look at it, it's not. It tends to be streamed in one way or another. So I think it's a really good exercise to really look inward to see, are we truly reflective of a diverse board or a diverse organization? So along that lines, we want to develop and build more relationships with various community groups and provide a dialogue for understanding. So, you know, I love sessions like this, and I'm sure you do too, because it creates the opportunity for dialogue and understanding. In a lot of cases, we don't have this opportunity. We get busy in our day-to-day lives, but it's providing shared learning opportunities. And, you know, even just today, the amount of just kind of little sound bites that have really resonated. And I know when I've been kind of watching Twitter, kind of just the different little things that have popped up. You know, I've passed that on to my colleagues, and hopefully they're catching on to it on the Twitter feed too. So I think sometimes, even if we get a couple little things today, that's really going to be important in developing more cultural competency practices. And then the other thing that is really important, and I know we're all guilty of forgetting at times, is ongoing stewardship. I know we're talking about cultivating and getting the gift, but if we don't thank people for the gift, then it's all for naught, and we really, really, really lose engaging folks on, you know, what it means and the impact that they're having. Again, I go back to that point, and I can't emphasize it enough, that every gift counts. It doesn't matter if it's $30 million or $30. It is all transformational gifts that has an impact at somebody at the end of the road. So there is very much that ripple effect. And one of the things, and even we're working on it at the Y, is really providing meaningful stewardship touches. You know, it can be a note, it can be sending out a letter from, you know, a teen that's had the opportunity to use teen nights here at the Y. It could be a youth that's been able to come off the street because somebody has perhaps donated an opportunity of, you know, getting a job and getting some skills development through that process. So I think that oftentimes one of the things that we focus so much on getting the gift, we forget about keeping them engaged and telling them how their gift is having impact. And I think that's so, so important for the relationship development. Marketing and communications. And I looked at this in different ways. So I know from some of my own family experience, it can be as simple as what type of ink you're using on your brochures. Because in some cases, if you're looking at some more seniors than that, if you have tiny, tiny mouse print, although I'm getting that way right now, you're really losing a whole vibrant community that has a lot of things to share and add. Half the time I'm getting out a magnifying glass to look at stuff. So, being cognizant of that. Even sometimes the colors that we're using, not using some colors that may be hard for people to read and identify. So developing and customizing them accordingly to who your audience is. Obviously, depending on what you want to have for if you're doing a specific celebration, making sure you're mindful of things that are meaningful within that celebration and so forth. The other item is making it fully accessible for everyone. So if somebody is not able to see it, what are other opportunities for them to get your message across and hear and experience all that you have to offer in that. And that's something that we're ongoing and working with on a continual basis from all communities. And I think we just need to adjust our collateral accordingly. And I think a lot of times we think that being diverse and socially inclusive has to be a lot of different things that maybe we're not doing if we're a one-person shop. And I think probably what you will experience is that, you're doing a lot of these things. You're making sure that your brochures are clear and concise and easy to read. You're probably making sure that on your website that if you are visually impaired, that you have the ability to, increase the size of what's on the website and different things like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just one thing or another. It can be from a variety of different ways. So I don't know if this will work, but I'm going to try it. Okay. It won't, but that's okay. One of the things that we have been working on that's been a real important part of how we're engaging in various communities is teen nights. So teen nights is an interesting case in that what we're doing is we're providing a safe, welcoming, inclusive area. It's free to teens to come into a Y on a Friday, Saturday, or night and to just be themselves, be with friends, and we want it to be it's a teen-led program, so it can be doing fitness and playing some basketball. We had some gals that were doing like a little mini spa. It can be doing maybe even something as interesting as a different sport or some sort of recreational activity. But the idea is that we want to give them a safe place to come and feel comfortable without any boundaries. And it's been something that has grown steadily over the past few years. We're up to about 11,000 teens taking advantage of that. It has had great success. We have teens from all walks of life, from all neighborhoods, and they're connecting and they're engaging and they're becoming involved in leadership programs, which we're absolutely thrilled with. And it's something that is truly reflective of what the Y is trying to do and trying to engage different communities that might not have otherwise, been available and had the resources available to them before. So I think it's something that that we're really pleased with. And from a fundraising perspective, it's such a fulfilling opportunity to talk to people about and to show impact. So it's if you do get a chance, it is on our website. And we'd love for you to come to take a look. And actually, I can send it out and tweet it out if anybody wants to follow along. And I'm sure I can connect with the AFP Inclusive Giving feed as well. So sorry about that. I'm, again, not totally technologically sound. So in addition to kind of our one-to-one relationships and how we're approaching it from a marketing collateral, the other thing that we're looking at is programs and events. So how are we interacting people from a grassroots? perspective. So what we want to do is have something for everyone. So I know our panel talked about a lot of it was instilled at a young age, you know, whether it was giving to the church or being active in their community or doing it through their school. And one of the things that our child and family development team is really supportive in doing is our Walk for Strong Kids. And the whole idea is to get preschool age children, so these little tiny, cute as a button bugs, going out and walking, but the whole idea is for them to learn about philanthropy and community activism. So engaging with their friends and family to collect donations and to support other children that may not have the opportunity to participate in a Y program. So it's towards financial assistance so everybody can be part of the Y. And it's something that's incredibly successful. And they get involved at their local schools and parks and get walking. And they're also getting physically fit at the same time, which is excellent. The one thing that you may not know about the Y is we also have newcomers programs. So one such program is our Newcomer Youth Leadership Program. And I've had an opportunity to sit in on some of these programs, and they're so much fun. I love talking to the youth and kind of understanding kind of what their goals and dreams and so forth are. And what this is doing is allowing them the opportunity to learn about their new country and community. Because ideally what we see is that when you engage youth, then you, in most cases, engage their families and get them involved. Because it's very difficult. I can't imagine coming to a new country. I mean, I couldn't even get around Iceland figuring out what people were saying to me all the time. So I cannot imagine coming to a new country. It's different. People are, talking many different languages. And it's really overwhelming. It's overwhelming me coming from the country, so I can't imagine it to anybody else. So it's a wonderful opportunity for them to know about it and come engaged and kind of look at what different things they can do and enjoy in Canada. But it also helps them learn about volunteerism and philanthropy as well. So we're always engaging everything into what basically a holistic point of view. So it's not just one angle that we're looking at. We want to make sure that they feel that they become part of the community and that they feel included. And then we've already talked about this earlier, but just community events in each of our centers. As you can see from our Grosvenor Street YMCA here, it's a very active center, lots of hustle and bustle, all sorts of community events going on, from cultural and community events to green events. We have everything from some seniors events with regards to everything from financial planning to maybe learning how to do Tai Chi or something like that. So what we want to do is have something for everyone to really celebrate what makes us so unique. And that's what having a center of community and a Y is all about. So what I thought we'd do now, because I've probably put you to sleep, and that's not fun, but what I wanted to do was kind of throw it back to you and to kind of think about, maybe what we can do is think about 2 steps maybe that you could take back to your organization to help grow cultural competency. Maybe 2 things right now, like if everybody can take 2 seconds and just kind of write down 2 things that they would do to put cultural competency in their organizations. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes, and then think about it, talk amongst yourselves, and then why don't we come back, and if everybody can share kind of things that they might, or that maybe they're doing currently, to share with the group, just to kind of break it up. Sound good? Okay, who would like to share a couple things? And then we had a good question that I just want to clarify that might have gotten misconstrued as well. So who would like to share? Maybe we can take a couple people to share. I know we're on a quick timeline. That would be great. Anyone? I swear to God I don't bite. All right, we have one lady over here.
So I'm a small organization that has two strong board members that support me. Mm-hmm. I'm Lebanese Jamaican. One board member is Chinese Jamaican. The other board member is African Jamaican. And so I need diversity. I need a white man on my board.
Hey, you don't get if you don't ask, right? We all know as fundraisers, so good for you.
Hi, I work with the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation, and one of the things that I've realized is that we don't have a lot of diversity in terms of the people who are made aware of breast cancer. Now, breast cancer is one of those things that doesn't discriminate. But you find that there are certain communities that are not yet open to talking about this. But we've passed the stage where breast cancer is something that is spoken about secretly and in hushed tones. So we need to get out there and bring more awareness about it. And people need to be ready and willing to have that conversation. So again, it's about getting out into the various communities, whether that is the Black community, the South Asian community, the Chinese community, whatever it takes. We need to get out there, build awareness, and start that conversation.
That's great. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, Mike, yay.
Hi, Catherine. I'm from the YMCA too, so I'll be real quick. But I heard a great link yesterday on CBC. It's really easy to remember, sharethanksgiving.ca. Simple process where families who want to invite a newcomer family from wherever to join them for Thanksgiving meal, and they come, and families who want to share, will invite people, and then there's another list of people newcomer families who put name on the list. What's beautiful about it is that, of course, there's stories of the newcomer family who were the guests one year, next year are the hosts, and it's a wonderful way to build. And I sent this out to a number of people in our organization. I thought a great way for us to invite people to get to know them that way, so it can work in any organization across. But it's sharethanksgiving.ca.
Great. Anyone else?
I work for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of Canada, and lots of our volunteers it was a small community based on people impacted by inflammatory bowel disease, which does have predominance in some cultures over others, but we've overhauled our volunteer program to provide more opportunities in the education and advocacy world, which has helped over the past 6 months bring a lot of different faces into our network of volunteers, because some people don't like to ask for money, and prior to this overhaul, all of our opportunities were on a fundraising level. So by expanding that, it has brought more diversity to our organization.
That's wonderful. Okay, well, I'm mindful of time. We got one more? Okay.
Hi, I'm Angie Barbieri, and I work at Sistering, and our client base is predominantly homeless women. So what we do for cultural competency is that we have counselors that are from different areas, from different ethnic backgrounds, that are able to provide the cultural competency in their counseling with the women. But the other thing that we're very proud of is that we have participants who use our services as members of our board of directors, so that our board of directors, who make up of professionals in the social service industries, that bringing participants to the board, they're living the life, and these are the services that they've been using, so that they can actually inform the board of directors and our executive director what programs they really need and how they can best access them as well.
Great. That's fantastic. Thanks, everybody, and hopefully that spurred some stuff. And I just wanted to clarify, I had one question over here, and it was kind of saying, well, are you just bringing in folks in just for the sake of coming into these communities and being diverse? And I totally appreciate that question, because I'm sure that comes up with so many. And what I want to do is support, I think it was a comment that was made earlier, in that if you state that you're a diverse and socially inclusive organization, basically you should walk the walk and talk the talk. You should live it and breathe it. And we have so many amazing representatives and leadership that can provide a different voice to those communities that can add to our rich cultural mosaic in all of our charities and all of our nonprofit organizations and in all of our communities. And I think and I probably didn't say it very well, but it's just we want to make sure that they all have a voice at the table, especially in philanthropy, because in a lot of cases, that's where philanthropy is really making a difference, is when we give everyone a voice at the table to truly come together and impact some really significant areas in each of our respective roles and charities. So I hope I clarified it a little bit more. So if that got misconstrued, apologize for that. So just want to wrap up, but hopefully from today, I gave you kind of a few things that you can take back, think about, and share with your team about what are some different things you can do. And a lot of times it's not anything huge. It can be, like I said, it can be changing, how we write a letter. It could be how we communicate on different marketing vehicles. It could be, who are we connecting with in the community? Or are there opportunities of events in the community that we can go and connect with folks at? So what we're hoping that what has happened at this event today is that we're thinking a little bit differently about something. I know I am, and I've got some ideas in my head about things that I can do for myself and my own personal growth. I can feel a little bit differently about something, and so as a result, I can act a little bit differently. So hopefully, I'm hoping that this leads to some your own personal reflections, thoughts, ideas, and hopefully some things that you can put in your daily work life. Hope that was helpful.